Hello everyone and welcome to SK Shadow. Welcome back to a brand new video where we will be doing the Canadian Grand Prix in our F1 22 My Team career mode. As you see, last time out we got a podium position in Baku. We got third place, bringing home some very, very nice points for us. However, our teammate Jensen Button has not been in the points himself for the last two races. So this is a track which hopefully he'll be able to score some decent points for us. We actually have a Pirelli hot lap thing where we use the supercars, which I'm not sure if we featured on this channel before. We might have done, but this one we basically just have to get through a load of gates without hitting the corners in a certain amount of time. I think it's 1 minute 38 up there in the top right corner. That will get us gold, and for that we will get $100,000 and 1,000 team acclaim, and then obviously you get silver and bronze, which have slightly lower prize monies. But also it's weird driving the supercars because they're just like, I don't know why they're in an F1 game. Driving the supercars, they just feel so slow, and I know that they're not slow obviously, but when you've been driving an F1 car they feel awful. But we managed to finish it with a 142, which is only good enough for silver. But it does give us an extra 50,000 cash and 500 acclaim, which will help us a little bit. So we're into the race weekend now. Looks like we've had a couple of developments completed, an engine and a rear downforce, which should be helpful for Canada. And in looking at it, it looks like qualifying and the race are going to be dry. Performance-wise, we are best of the rest again. We have progressed a little bit. We are actually faster than both the Alfa Romeo and the McLaren. The Alpine's just dropping off. They were a quick car, you know. I mean, they are ahead of us in the constructors, but in terms of performance, they are dropping off. But we will head into quali and see what we can do. So into our first flying lap here of Canada. The aim, obviously, get out Q1. We should be able to do that. We are best of the rest. It should not be tricky for us to do that, and obviously our teammate as well, if he can do that. What we've decided to do is actually go out right at the end of Q1, and we've fueled ourselves to be able to do a couple of laps just in case we need to, but ideally we should be able to just get through with one lap. But our first lap is when we cross the line, 1:11.0, which is only good enough for P12. As you can see on our last lap, our tyres are very, very cold and there's a lot of people coming through, so we decided to put our foot down, but probably at the wrong moment because Magnussen was coming through. That is going to compromise us, and we spin. That is going to be our Q1 over, and it's tight. We're only P12. We are only P12, but we do just about manage to get in at P14 with a 1:11.023. with the cut-off being a 1:11.071, so literally less than half a tenth clear we were. But it doesn't matter, because we're through. We are through to Q2. We are definitely going to have to go a bit faster, though, if we want to get into Q3, which, again, we should be able to, and so should our teammate. I mean, Canada's normally a track I'm pretty decent at. I do tend to end up cutting some corners sometimes, because it's quite easy to do that, but I don't know, other people that I know don't seem to like driving the Canada track that much, but I don't mind it. But our first lap is a 1:10.8 pretty much, which puts us a couple of attempts shy of our teammate. But it does put us fifth, with the cut-off being a 1:11.6, although I know that is going to get a lot quicker. We decide not to do another run, and we only just scraped through again with 1:10.76, and Alonso 1:10.78, I think that was, so yeah, only just. We are going to need to find some performance out of nowhere, pretty much, on our last laps of Q3 if we hope to be any higher up in the grid order than 10th. But we're on our first lap of Q3 here. Hopefully we can get a decent banker lap on the timing boards, as Leclerc goes provisional pole of a 1:09.9, and our first lap is a 1:10.5, so we found a couple of attempts from our lap in Q2. We're pretty much on par with what Button did in Q2. He's actually a little bit behind us. He's only managed a 1:10.8 actually, with Magnussen with a 1:13.3. I'm guessing he got held up somewhere, but not good performance from him, or the two Mercedes or Perez, I don't know. if they all just got held up or something, but they're going a lot slower than they were in Q2. But we're on our final lap here. Can we make any improvement? I mean, we're literally third at the moment, but as we all know, the AI go crazily fast on their final lap of all these sessions. We haven't managed to gain any time yet. We've got literally these last couple of corners to do it, which we do. We gain almost 2 tenths. Perhaps there was a bit of a corner cut there, but we come home with a 1:10.3, which is good enough to put us P6, so above Lando Norris, below Max Verstappen, and our teammate didn't improve, unfortunately, so he's P10, but P6 and 10 for the team on the starting grid. We should hopefully be able to get some more points.
Hello and welcome to the Ile Notre Dame once again for what promises to be another incredible Canadian Grand Prix at a fiercely competitive circuit where pole position can often be decided by less than 1/10 of a second. If you want flat-out racing, you've come to the right place this weekend, as it's full throttle for 59% of this 2.7-mile circuit, peaking at around 210 miles per hour going into the final chicane. But that speed requires discipline, and there are more than a few close walls here just waiting to punish drivers with a heavy right foot. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Paul, Norris, Magnussen, Sainz, and Jenson Button, Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Valtteri Bottas, and Gasly, Joe, Mick Schumacher, Daniel Ricciardo, and Sebastian Vettel, Tsunoda, Albon, Stroll, and Nicholas Latifi. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Okay, now that we've got some good points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
So, aiming for another top 10 finish is certainly what we're going to be doing, and we're going to be doing that by doing the normal medium to hard strategy. It looks like we're going to be coming in around lap 17, is our personalised strategy. Seems to think that our tyre wear is a little bit better than the default would be in the game. We get a purple parking there, so we might be able to send it down the inside of Verstappen, although obviously he is not our fight in this race, but it is lights out and away we go. We get a little bit of wheel spin off the start there. That allows Norris to think about coming up our inside, but we just brake that little bit later than him. But he is still there. We get a warning for collision with Norris. As you see, we are side by side, but we have the inside line there, which is always going to allow us to keep the position. Verstappen and Hamilton are fighting pretty aggressively, and we have to back out of that. Otherwise, that could have been our race over as well. We think about going down the inside of Verstappen, but once again, we're just thinking, you know what, the Red Bull is a much faster car than us. He is not our race. We just want to be in the points, and we are not going to do that by fighting cars that are quicker than us for no reason. It's 3 wide behind us. I don't know what happened there, but Norris has lost out to Sainz, which is not going to be good for us, because obviously the Ferrari is quite a bit of a faster car than Norris. As we see a replay here of Sainz and Norris going side by side. Who is going to win out on this? It looks like it's actually going to be Norris, or is it? No, it is not. He is not able to keep the position there, as we see our teammate Jenson Button is fighting with Valtteri Bottas all the way down in P12. I don't know how he's lost out there, as Bottas sends it over the curbs, which slows down our teammate and allows the other Alfa Romeo to make it 3 wide going to turn 1. I can see in the background there, it looked like there was a little bit of carnage with one of the Williams. We will have to see what happened there, but unfortunately our teammate has lost out and is down in P12. As there you go, Nicholas Latifi is out of the session. It's a virtual safety car, which has been upgraded to a full safety car. So this is what happens. He locks up and just smashes into the side of the Alfa Romeo and his teammate. Yeah, the Williams team are not going to be overly happy with Mr. Latifi. But on to lap 5 here. We have got the better traction than Verstappen. We think about going down the outside. We let Verstappen just run a little bit wide there, but we end up running wide ourselves. And unfortunately, we are not able to capitalise on it. The main thing, though, is keeping this Ferrari behind us of Carlos Sainz. It is going to be tricky because obviously he's in a Ferrari, which is, I think, the fastest car on the grid at the moment, especially in straight line speed when we have this massive, massive straight line on the back straight, and especially when DRS is enabled at the end of this lap, I think we are going to be a sitting duck to that Ferrari. Honestly, again, like it was with Verstappen, it's probably not worth fighting it, because if we fight it and then we end up just slowing ourselves down, we'll bring Magnussen towards us and the entire pack behind us, and we might not even end up in the points, which is not what we are after. As you see, he is gaining on us. We're not using the overtake. We're just going to let him go for it, but he just wasn't alongside us enough to be able to get that position. So we do retain it for the time being. On to lap 9, onto the back straight. Once again, Sainz is actually out of DRS zone at this point, which I'm not actually sure is enabled. I didn't see. But yeah, we're out of DRS of Sainz, but we're also out of DRS of Verstappen. It would have been quite nice to be able to try and cling on to the back of him there to pull us along, as Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin is out of this race as well. And Sainz is going for it. Does he send it? No, we do cover the inside, but Sainz is not that brave, as we end up pushing him towards Magnussen. If he's not careful, keep trying to go for lunges on us, he might end up getting overtaken by Magnussen, which would not be good for his race. You can see on the minimap there that the other Ferrari of Leclerc is just pulling ahead. But Sainz has got a little bit of a better run on us here. We keep our nose in on the inside and we keep the position once again. We're thinking here, you know what, we could maybe try and keep the position, as this is just a replay here. But we're not going to use too much overtake to do it. So if he's able to overtake us, then fair enough, but we're not going to easily give up the position, because it seems like we are actually able to keep him ahead for, well, at least 12 laps of this race so far. Although it is going to be our pit stop window soon. Obviously, it did say we would be pitting on lap 17, so we'll probably be doing that. But we get a terrible run down the main straight, and that allows the Ferrari, in the end, to get past us without too much hassle. We will be able to stick with him very, very, very close here, as you see. But we just don't have the drive coming out of the corners, unfortunately. This particular race was obviously recorded before the 1.08 patch. Well, before any of the patches, really. This was quite early on. So they do have a bit of a straight line speed advantage, and especially traction out of the slower corners. The AI are just that little bit faster than us, unfortunately. We are able to stick to the back of him, though, like I was saying that we hope to do with Verstappen. We were able to just use enough overtake to stay within the DRS of him, because that seems to be what is going to be important here, as a few of the guys are already into the pits on lap 15. As one of the Alfa Romeos there is out of the session, so our teammate is not going to have to worry about battling him. As Carlos Sainz goes into the pit on lap 16, can we do the overcut? That's the question, because obviously we're going to be going into the pits this lap. So if we can do the overcut, that would be pretty nice. But we dive into the pits there, locking up. We only just about managed to get it slowed down without getting a penalty, but we get a purple stop. What time are we going to get for this? 2.5 seconds, not too bad. And where does that end up sending us out? Literally side by side with Sainz, or almost, but just not enough. If we maybe have managed to do our in-lap maybe half a second quicker, which, to be honest, is asking for quite a lot, then we may have had the chance, but it probably wouldn't have mattered, because as you can see, we come out with such cold tyres. We're just going to lose so much time on this outlap that I think Sainz would have been able to get past us again anyway. As on to lap 19, our hard tyres are finally warmed up, but we have lost time. We're now 2.5 seconds behind of Sainz, so we're not going to be able to cling on to his DRS anymore. But it's not too much of an issue, because Magnussen in the Haas behind us is 3 seconds behind, so as long as we can just match the pace of the Haas, which we should be able to, because on paper we are a faster car, then we shouldn't have any issues. We should be able to just sail home in 7th place. Our teammate, I'm not sure if he's in the points. Look at the mini-map. What is 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th? So our teammate is in 10th, and Mark tells us there is an issue with the car. Please don't be a DNF. We're in a double points finish for the team. We cannot afford any DNFs if we're going to try and overtake Alpine in the constructor standings. So I don't know what the issue is. Oh, there we go. Our fuel is in lean. So we are going to have a pretty big reduction in engine power. I think you lose like 30% of power or something when the fuel is in lean. I don't know how long we're going to have this for. Hopefully not too long. As on to lap 22 here, you can see that Jensen's just in a bit of a situation here. He's close enough to Lando Norris to stick with a DRS, but for whatever reason he just hasn't got the straight line speed to actually get past him. But moving on to lap 23, our engine issue appears to be fixed. We're back into standard. We've lost a little bit of time on Magnussen. I think we were about 3.5 seconds ahead before all of the engine issues, and we're now just under 3 seconds, but it's really not that big of an issue. We are losing a lot of time to Sainz, but that's to be expected, to be honest. We were never going to be fighting him for position. Moving on to lap 29, not a lot has changed. We are sort of just in a bit of free air by ourselves. We're not fighting anyone here. We're just in 7th place. We're just hoping for nothing to go wrong, making no mistakes for these final 5 laps, and hopefully no more engine issues, and we should be able to just easily bring it home, as we do. The end of lap 35 on the main straight now, and we bring it home for 7th place.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
So that's it then for another magnificent Canadian Grand Prix, and they have hung on to take a sublime victory here today. Ferrari are at it again. An excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
So, another points finish for us after our podium in Baku. Unfortunately, not quite as many points as Baku, but that was always going to be pretty tricky to beat. Our teammate does manage to stay in 10th. He managed to get back past Bottas by the looks of it, and he brings home an extra point for us. So, overall for the team, we bring home 7 points, which is obviously more than the Alpines did, because neither of them got into points. So that is going to bring us quite a bit closer to them in the constructors, I think. We are now matched on points with Fernando Alonso, so 52. With Bottas, only 53. So literally, the only thing that is separating the three of us is a single point, as Button is down in 12th with his 27 points. And then in the constructors, we are still 5th, 79 points, but we have managed to pull away a little bit from Alfa Romeo and obviously build the gap further towards Alpine as well. So hopefully in the next few races we can work towards getting that 4th place from Alpine. It looks like in terms of car development they are struggling a bit, so we are the quicker car than them at the moment. So yeah, hopefully next race out we should be able to get some more points as well, so make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss our teams and both of our drivers' home race, the British Grand Prix.